Brittney Griner, not the only American currently jailed in Russia. Paul Whelan was detained by Russian police in late 2018 and convicted on espionage charges a year and a half later. The U.S. denounced Whelan's trial as a, quote, mockery of justice. And Whelan's family says those charges are bogus. With Griner's high profile, Whelan's relatives want to make sure they get equal attention as they push to bring him home. Joining us now is Paul Whelan's brother, David. David, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, first, when was the last time you were able to communicate with Paul?
Paul has been able to speak to our parents since about September 2020, when he first was sent out to the labor colony in the center of Russia. I haven't personally spoken to him since October of 2018.
Oh my goodness. All right. So almost 2 years now since your parents have been able to communicate with him. What happened today? What was your reaction to Brittney Griner's guilty plea?
Well, I think it's a great thing for her. Frankly, the charges in Paul's case, and I'm sure in Brittney's case, are made to look like far more than they are. And the only way to get through the false front Russian justice system is to get through it. And so by pleading guilty, she's essentially shortcut to the end of the process, and hopefully will get her sentence and perhaps not be sent out to a labor colony. But it allows the U.S. government to now start to have those discussions that Russia won't have until the conviction happens.
Well, David, I want to talk more about that. You know, at first, a lot of people thought Brittney Griner's case was not getting enough attention. Obviously, right now, getting a lot of attention. We know the president and vice president have spoken to her wife. Have you and your family received any similar outreach from the White House?
Our family has not spoken to either President Trump, who was the first president Paul was detained under, or President Biden. But we've had outreach from Secretary Blinken, National Security Advisor Sullivan, and people like that since the Biden administration took office in 2021.
Would your family like to speak with President Biden?
Well, my sisters asked for the meeting, and I think one of the, or phone call, one of the reasons that it's come up is that when Trevor Reed was released in April, there was a lot of discussion, and particularly in the media, about whether the meeting that the Reed family had had with the president was what had caused the release to happen. And I think when you're a wrongfully detained family member, you are looking for anything that would help to get your loved one home, to make sure that they're a priority. And so having that call is not only meaningful to the Whelan family, it's meaningful to the 50 other odd families that are out there who have Americans detained around the world. Personally, I don't think it would make that much difference. I know that President Biden is working on the case, and I know that Secretary Blinken and National Security Advisor Sullivan are also working on the case. The question now is, what can they do? And the U.S. government hasn't been able to come up with a concession. And I think that will be the challenge, as Paul just said in Brittney's case. What is it that the U.S. can give in order to have these wrongfully detained Americans freed? And 3.5 years in, the U.S. government hasn't been able to do that in Paul's case.
Well, you know, you mentioned Trevor Reed being released. We were just watching video of him being freed in that prisoner swap. We know that the same idea is being floated to possibly bring Brittney Griner back to the States. Has that been mentioned as a possibility to free your brother?
Well, the Russians have pitched freeing two particular Russians from the very first day that Paul was arrested. That was the message that the Russian State Security Service gave to Paul back in January 2019. So we've known that that was what they wanted. And unfortunately for Paul, one of those people was traded for Trevor Reed. So it's great to have Trevor home, but it means that there are that many few options if that's all that the U.S. government is going to consider. And I think that really highlights the problem. They need to consider more things. They need to look at sanctions that they can place on Russians, or things that the Russians want taken away, that the U.S. government can ameliorate some other issue. There have got to be many more concessions that are available other than talking about this prisoner or that prisoner. There are the diplomatic properties the Obama administration took from the Russian government. There are many other things that the Russian government has sought to get back. And surely the Biden administration can figure out which ones would allow for the freedom of Paul and for Britain.
Well, David, my last question for you, what would be your specific message to President Biden?
I would say, please keep working at it. Please get to the point of having action rather than just words. We think that you are doing a great job, for certainly a better job than we have had in the past for wrongful detainees. But more needs to be done. And there are parts of your administration that are not working to support the release of wrongful detainees.
You know, and David, today the White House press secretary declined to say whether or not the president will, in fact, be calling your family to speak with your parents. What is your reaction to that?
Oh, I think that's okay. The president is a very busy person. There are many crises in America right now. That isn't going to get Paul home. Yeah. We know that he's engaged in the case. I would much rather see the other people in the State Department, the Justice Department, National Security Council. I would rather see them get their act together and get Paul out.
And get him home. It's certainly understandable there. David Whelan, we thank you so much for speaking with us. We certainly wish your brother Paul the very best and hope he comes home soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.